ABC Kinderteach presents Building Our House, written by Jonathan Bean. Today is moving day. We left our old house in the city. There's the city. And are moving to the country. And this is where they're moving to. There's even horses. My family is building our new house away from the road, back down a dirt lane. And the lane is just a country road that is not very wide. And that's what a lane might look like. Our house will sit in the middle of a weedy field Dad and Mom bought from a farmer. And look, there's even a cat and another cat. My family makes up a strong crew, a group of workers of 4, and we have a truck named Willie's, which looks like that. It's called a Willie's Jeep truck. My brother helps Dad carry the tools. He's carrying a hammer. The right tools for the right job, says Dad. I help Mom carry the plans, which tells how to make the house. A good plan for a good house, says Mom. Willie's carries everything else, all of their equipment and supplies and maybe some chairs. A truck towing a trailer pulls into the field. The trailer has a door, 2 windows, and a chimney. Dad tells the driver to park the trailer under an oak tree. So there's the trailer, and Dad says to park it under the tree. They must be going to live there until their house is finished. The next day, a truck with a tall rig pulls into the field. And this is something that they use to drill a water well. It has a long drill that can bore or drill through dirt and rock down to fresh water, because below the ground, sometimes 200 or 300 feet, there is water that you can put a pipe and actually use it to drink out of. The men who drive the truck lay pipes that will carry the water to the trailer. So it's supposed to pump it up and pump it over to the trailer. This is actually sewage lines, but the day after that, a truck with a bucket, and here's a bucket truck. It's used to hook up electricity to the house, pulls into the field. It has a long arm that moves the bucket up and down. A man in the bucket works cautiously or carefully with wires that will carry electricity to the trailer. Here it is. They are hooking up wire to run electricity to the trailer so that they can have electricity in their trailer. We will live in this small home on wheels while we build our new house. Oh, we were right. They're going to use the trailer to live in until their house is done. During the week, Dad goes to his job in town, so he has to work at his regular job while they're getting the house built. But on the weekend, we start up Willie's, that's their pickup truck, and everyone jumps in. We go to buy stacks of lumber from the sawmill. And a stack of lumber might look like this. We collect piles of rock from our neighbor's pasture. Here's the piles of rock they're collecting. It's probably to use for what they call the foundation or the very, very bottom of the building. We bring loads of sand from the quarry. And a quarry might look like this. It has a bunch of rock that you dig up. And for people that have small trucks, there's this little thing that drops rock into the back of their truck so that they can use it for building. We gather supplies with Willie's until the weedy field is filled with stacks and piles and loads of what we need to start building. Wow, lots of stuff. Rocks and lumber. More rocks. On a clear, cold night, Dad sets the corners of the foundation by the North Star. And when he says sets the corners of the foundation, it's use wood to show where the house will go. It's like, oh yeah, this is where the basement's going to be. Dig around here. One wall will face north to ward off the wind, one east to welcome the morning, one south to soak in the sun, and one west to see out the day, because the sun rises in one direction and it falls in the other direction, east and west. It looks very cold out there, doesn't it, with all the snow? When the weather warms, the ground softens, and Grandpa visits with his backhoe. "Are you ready to dig?" he calls. Grandpa follows the corners Dad placed, gently moving the levers that control the giant backhoe. And so a backhoe looks like this. You just use it to dig up the dirt so that you have a hole in the ground, which is your basement. And you can see the hole that they're digging. And there's their backhoe. He digs and dumps, scoops and piles until there is a square hole in the field. And there it is. This will be our new basement. And see it? There's the basement in a real house right there. Dad saws boards that Mom hammers and nails into a form that will hold concrete and rock. These are the forms that you'll pour concrete and rock into, actually cement and rock into. The concrete and rock will shape the foundation that will support the frame and make for a solid house. So a foundation is just the part of the house that you put the rest of the house on. In this case, it's the basement, but not everybody has basements. Dad lays rocks one on top of another while we fill the loud mixing machine. There's Dad laying the rocks and blocks in the basement. And this is the mixing machine, which mixes up the concrete, which you pour into here, and you can see her doing that. 1 shovel of cement, 3 shovels of sand, 5 of stone, and water till it's soupy, which means it will pour very easily, like you see here. The machine rumbles, tumbling the ingredients into concrete. There it is. Mom pours the concrete into a wheelbarrow. There's the wheelbarrow. And then dumps the wet mixture into the form. And again, this is the form. This is what a foundation form looks like. And what they do is they bring in a big truck and they dump concrete into here, and it forms the walls of the basement. If you don't have a basement, then they're just going to pour what they call a slab, or just like the floor without the walls. This is what really happens most of the time, is that they pour concrete using these big huge trucks that make the concrete rather than them having to do it themselves. This is a form that is a smaller form that you might use if you are just doing a floor, not a whole basement, and you see the concrete coming out. When the concrete hardens, the form comes down, the wood around it, and the foundation stands solid. And when it's done, it might look like this. This is the foundation with the forms, the wooden pieces off of it. So this is really your basement. My brother helps Dad inspect the lumber. "Strong lumber for a strong frame," says Dad. And this is what the frame of a house might look like, just a bunch of sticks. And here is the foundation at the very, very bottom. I help Mom mark the lumber that Dad will saw. "Measure twice to get it right," says Mom. So she says, measure it twice to make sure you don't cut it in the wrong place. A drill, a chisel, and a mallet are the right tools to shape the lumber so that each piece fits snugly into the next. So this is what a chisel looks like, and you see him using it here. And what he's doing here is he's making these little holes, and then he's cutting these little pieces out like this. And this is called a tenon, this is called a mortise, and then they use some sort of big spike in here to hold them in place. It's a good way to build, Most people don't do it this way just because it takes a lot more work. When every beam is marked and sawed and snug, we throw a big party. I wonder what kind of party that they're going to throw. A frame raising party. So they are going to have a bunch of people come over for maybe a day or two, and they're going to quickly put up all the skeleton of the house. Everyone visits. My grandfather and grandmother, my aunts and uncles and cousins, my other grandfather and grandmother, my great-grandfather, our neighbors, and the workers from the sawmill and quarry make up a big frame-raising crew, or a bunch of people working on putting up the skeleton of the house. And a sawmill might look like this. It takes the wood from the trees and it cuts it into wood that you can use. Our crew works until the sun sets or the sun goes down and the frame stands strong in the middle of the field. Mom makes places for everyone to sit around a fire. We eat and talk and play until the stars shine and the owls call. So they make dinner for everybody who helped because it is a lot of work. Now the weather cools. Fall is here, says Mom. Winter is coming, says Dad. We work harder than ever because the house needs a chimney and roof, siding and windows before the winter arrives. So there's their basement foundation right there. This is the frame of the house, and they're working really hard because they have to get it all closed in before the winter comes. Otherwise, it's going to get snow in their house and they'll be really, really cold in there. But this year, the first frost arrives early. It starts getting cold earlier. The cold rains fall early. The icy winds that carry the heavy snow blow early. So they're working really fast to try to get everything closed in. The bad weather slows our work but doesn't stop it. So it's snowing out and they are working on getting the last pieces and putting the windows in, the doors, everything else. But the kids are out there sledding. When the snow is deep, Dad hooks a plow up to Willie's. That's their Jeep truck. He clears the driveway so that we can go to town and buy a stove. The stove warms the house while we start our work inside. Our plans show us where to place walls that will make the rooms. So their only way of heating the house right now is this stove. But the mom is looking at the plans on what to do on the inside, and the girl is falling asleep. The cat is falling asleep. And this is what a blueprint might look like. It just tells you where to put the stairs and where the stove is going to be and the laundry room and where to put the walls up. We plumb while the wind howls. That means you put in the pipes that bring water to your sink, as well as the pipes that take the water away from the drain and put it either in a sewer or what they call a septic system. This is plumbing that might go in your walls. And this is the type of pipes that take the water away from the sink down the drain into either the sewer or what they call a septic tank or septic system. And wire while drifts pile up. And so wiring is when you just connect wires so they have electricity in the house. And inside a wall, your wires might look like this. We insulate while the days grow shorter. And she's insulating, and this is what insulating might look like. There's other types of insulation. And then wallboard as they gradually grow longer. So it's getting closer to spring, and so he's putting up the walls. And look at the kitten has some babies. And the mom is going to have a baby too. We work on weekends. Dad's putting in this door. We work in the evenings. Dad's hooking up the gas for the stove. We work while Dad is at his job. Looks like the mom is painting. Again, she's going to have a baby. And then finally, it's time for another party. What kind of party is this going to be? A moving party. Again, there's their basement. The house looks like it's all done. This time, when everyone visits, we have a big moving crew. They bring rugs and chairs and lamps and help us empty out the house on wheels, so that a truck can pull it away. Our big crew moves everything into the house. Wow, look at all that stuff they're hauling in. When Mom and Dad are busy, I show the crew where things go. So she says, put the couch right there. Once the moving is done, everyone goes back to their homes, but my family stays right where we are. And look at, the mom had a baby. And the kittens from the cat are running around too. It's our very first night in our new home.